Welcome to my home.
Welcome to
Whispers of Vale Keep.
Hello everyone, welcome to Whispers of Vale Keep. This is episode 13 and I'm very excited to be here and I think all of you are as well. It is February the 19th of 2026, a day I know I won't forget, and I think now as we go forward, I think it's a day that Lord Greggor is not going to forget as well, and I have to welcome him to the studio. He's sitting here with a smile on his face looking at me because this is exciting for us. And I know that you're excited too. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the podcast, Lord Greggor. I sure hope you are well.
Thank you, Veliana. I am very well, and I'm very glad to be here with you tonight. I do not think I have ever sat down for an episode with this much anticipation around it. I can feel how many people have been waiting. And truthfully, I have been waiting as well. The last few months have been very purposeful for me. Some of what I was doing I could speak about, and some of it I could not, at least not yet. Tonight is one of those moments where I finally can. And I will say this first. Before anything else, it gives me great happiness to place something into your hands that feels like it was meant to find its way back to you. But before I begin explaining anything, tell me honestly, how have you been feeling these past few days knowing this was coming?
I don't know how to describe it. I have literally been so excited, and I've been looking at this painting, this portrait, every day since you sent it over to me. And I'm going to admit something. I think I'm more nervous now than when you and I took our vows. if that makes any sense to you. Yeah. So anticipation, and as you can see, I've got a big smile on my face. I just think it's quite lovely. And I don't really know the motive behind this. I think I do. But I am so thankful. What a wonderful gesture. What a wonderful thing. And by the way, for those who do not know and you're listening, Lord Greggor presented me with a photo that he took of a portrait when he was traveling in December. But he didn't share it to me, or share it with me rather, until just a few days ago. In fact, he had been traveling about 10 days ago, and I think that's when he took the photo and then sent it over to me. So he's been stealthily doing a few little things. And you know, I don't ask any questions, and you can tell that I am nervous because I am rambling. So that's how I feel.
You are not rambling. You are simply feeling the moment. And I understand that very well. When I first saw the portrait, I had a similar feeling. Not nervous exactly, but very aware that what I was looking at might matter far more than I expected. At that time, I did not know who she was. I only knew that something about her presence felt familiar, and I wanted to be careful. I did not want to tell you too soon and then later discover I was mistaken. So I waited. I arranged for the archival search, and while that was happening, I went back a second time to see the painting again in person. That was when I took the photograph I sent you. I wanted you to see her even before we had answers, because I suspected you might feel something as well. Tell me honestly, when you first looked at the image, before anyone said anything about lineage or history, what was your first impression?
My first impression Well, I had to catch my breath because at first glance, I thought it was me. And then I looked pretty hard, and then I thought, wait, she doesn't look like me. But there's a resemblance there. Secondly, I noticed the pearls in her hair, and the pearls, her earrings. And ironically enough, this is so similar to the bride doll that I had when I was 4 years old. I know, and that was a scary moment for me back then when I was 4. We're not going to go there. But it was comforting. It was amazing. And of course, you know me, the questions flooded in. But I really thought, and now when I look at her, it's kind of like, I don't see it. Yes, I do. No, I don't. So that was my first impression.
That is very much how I felt the first time I stood in front of her. At one angle, I saw the resemblance immediately, and at another, I told myself I was imagining it. That is why I chose not to say anything right away. I wanted certainty before I brought this to you. There is something else I want everyone listening to understand. When I traveled in December, I was not searching for a portrait connected to you. I was there for other antiquities matters. The painting appeared because someone who knows my work contacted me privately and said the original noble portrait from the Upper Lusatia collections had been taken out of rotation and might soon move into private circulation. I agreed to view it simply out of professional interest. The moment I saw her, the situation changed. I asked that the piece be held while I began making inquiries. I did not want it moving through auctions while we still did not know who she was. And Veliana. There is one part of this that matters to me very much. Whether she turned out to be related to you or not, I had already decided I wanted to bring her to Vale Keep. Something about the painting felt as though it belonged there. Before I go further, I want to ask you something. When she arrives, and once the restoration is complete, have you thought at all about where you might like her placed within Vale Keep?
Well, first of all, Your Grace, some of this I didn't know, so I appreciated that ties up some loose ends. And I agree. I'm going to try not to get emotional. You can see that I am.
It is okay, Veliana. Take your time.
You can see what this means to me on many levels. And pardon me to everyone, because, you know, I'm so happy that she will be at the keep. I am so happy she's going to be there. And I don't know yet. I know that I want her close so that when we are there, you and I can pass by and I can wink at her and say hello. So would it be okay with you if we waited until I came there in the late spring and placed her at the perfect place together? Because even though I know a lot of Vale Keep and I have seen a lot, I would like to have you give me the tour first, and then we can put her in her home. Would that be okay with you?
Of course, that would be more than okay. I would not place her anywhere without you. We will walk the halls together. Take our time, and when you feel that quiet certainty about a place, that is where she will remain. Some decisions should never be rushed, especially when they concern someone who is returning to the family after so many years. And I want you to know something else. While the restoration is being completed, I have already arranged for a full archival print to be produced for you museum quality, so that you may keep her with you in your own home as well. That way she will be present with you now, and later she will stand in the keep where she belongs. Now, I think the moment everyone has been waiting for has arrived, and I suspect your heart is beating a little faster than usual. The final lineage confirmation came through only a short time ago. I wanted to hold that information until we could share it here together. Are you ready for me to tell you who she is?
Oh, yes, I certainly am. But before we get into that, for the first-time listeners, I want to explain. Lord Greggor lives at Vale Keep. It is in Europe. I live in the United States. And we decided long before we became sworn and took our vows that he would remain at Vale Keep. I will remain in the U.S. and we will travel back and forth. And that works perfectly for the both of us because he has responsibilities there and I have responsibilities here. And he travels more than I do, so he's more than happy to travel more to come here, but I will be going to Vale Keep as well. So his home is my home. My home is his home. So we have Vale Keep in Europe, and we have Vale Keep here in the United States. So to answer your question, Your Grace, nervously, please do. Please tell us all who this lovely young lady is.
Very well. The research teams examined 3 separate sources: estate registries from the Upper Lusatia region, a marriage ledger preserved in a regional archive, and a Falkenrath Lindenfels household inventory listing that referenced a formal portrait commissioned in the early 1670s. All 3 sources pointed to the same identification. The woman in the portrait is Gräfin Elisabetta Magdalena von Falkenrath Lindenfels, born in the late 1630s, part of a Saxon noble estate family, whose maternal line traces back through the Görlitz regional lineage that descends from the earlier Ottilie household. The connection is several generations removed, but it is direct and clearly documented through the maternal branch, which means Veliana. She is not simply someone who resembles you, she is part of your ancestral line. When I received the final confirmation, I sat with the document for quite a long time before I said anything. Not because I doubted it, but because I understood what it would mean to place that knowledge in your hands. I wanted this moment to happen here, where you could hear it calmly and where the people who care about you could share it with you at the same time. And I will tell you one more thing. The moment the confirmation arrived, I signed the final acquisition transfer without hesitation. She was never going anywhere else after that.
I think for the first time in a long time, I'm speechless. But the first thing that I have to say is thank you. That is going to some lengths to get this information and to get this done and to acquire her. And thank you so much. I'm sorry I'm in tears. But I think it's the anticipation of all of this. I was hoping she would be. So now, first of all, I want to explain something to our listeners. If you're listening for the first time, pardon me. And if I'm correct, and she is a part of the Saxon noble estate family who goes back to Görlitz, is where my family is from. And he mentioned Ottilie, which is the first ancestor that I had found in my lineage that dates back into the 1400s in Europe. first of all, Gräfin Elisabetta, that means countess, if I'm not mistaken, and you may correct me, Lord Greggor. Secondly, this is marvelous. So can you tell us more about her, please? What was she doing? What was she like? Am I like her? Or is she like me? Wow. Wow. Okay, this is a lot. I'm happy. These are tears of joy. So, okay. Yes.
Yes, Gräfin does mean countess, and you are correct. What we know of Elisabetta comes mostly from estate correspondence and the household records rather than public chronicles, which tells us something important immediately. She was not a figure who sought public recognition. She worked within the estate, within the family, quietly shaping things around her. Records describe her as educated for her time. She handled portions of estate correspondence when her husband was traveling, and she was trusted with seasonal relief accounts during difficult winters. That was not a ceremonial duty. It meant she was responsible for making sure tenant families had grain reserves and that the estate distributed supplies properly. When a woman was given that responsibility, it meant she was considered steady, intelligent, and dependable. There are also small personal notes preserved in a later family ledger that describe her temperament. They speak of her as calm, observant, and someone who listened more than she spoke. People often came to her for advice before making family decisions, which suggests she carried a quiet authority rather than a formal one. And yes, Veliana, there is something else. A short line written in a later generational entry mentions that she was believed to have inherited the inward sight from the earlier Görlitz women. It was not something spoken about publicly, but within the family it was considered part of the lineage. Symbolic dreams, intuitive impressions, that sort of thing. It was noted respectfully, not dramatically. As for whether you are like her, or she is like you, I think that question answers itself in more ways than one. When I first stood in front of the portrait, the resemblance I noticed was not only in the features, it was in the expression, that same composed, watchful presence. That is why I felt, even before the documents arrived, that she might belong to you. Tell me, now that you know her name and her place in the line, how does it feel to hear it spoken aloud?
Thank you, Your Grace. This is marvelous. I just can't even. It feels wonderful. I feel like I'm embarrassing myself. But, it just feels wonderful to hear. And you know, I've got to say, Elizabeth is one of my favorite names. Now, of course, this is a variation of Elizabeth. It's Elisabetta, Countess Elisabetta. So, thank you. I just think it's marvelous that you would go to this length again. But can you tell us now who she married? What was her life like? And did she have any children?
Yes, I can tell you a little more. Elisabetta married Johann Friedrich, Graf von Lindenfels, a mid-level Saxon estate count whose lands were still recovering from the long economic strain that followed the war years of the 17th century. Their marriage was considered both respectable and practical, joining the Falkenrath family line with the Lindenfels holdings, which strengthened administrative stability for both estates. From the household registry, we know they had 3 children who reached adulthood. The eldest son eventually inherited the primary estate responsibilities. A younger son entered administrative service tied to southern German territories, which later helped connect branches of the family across regions. Their daughter married into another regional noble household, continuing the maternal line through marriage alliances, which was very typical of that period. Descriptions of her daily life suggest she was not someone who remained distant from estate affairs. She supervised portions of household management, seasonal accounts, and relief coordination during difficult harvest cycles. That type of work required both literacy and organizational skill, and it also meant she had frequent direct contact with the people living on the estate lands. In many ways, she acted as a stabilizing presence within the household rather than a ceremonial figure. And I will tell you something that may matter even more than titles or marriages. The fact that her portrait was preserved in the estate inventory across later generations tells us she was remembered with respect. Not every noble portrait survived record transfers. When one remained listed by name, it usually meant the family considered that person part of their foundational line. When the restoration is complete and she stands within Vale Keep, she will not simply be displayed as an artifact. She will be placed as a returning member of the house, and you will decide exactly where she belongs.
You know, this is so thoughtful, and it's exciting because now I want to research her more. So, two things, Your Grace. First, can you explain, and I want to do this for the audience and for the listeners out there, because wow, these names, it's really something. Explain the Vaughn and the names for many of our friends. The other thing is the lineage, because we have Countess and I am a ladyship. If you can explain how that makes that curve, number one. But then number two, the big question is, do you know where their estate was in Europe? Is this something that's still in the family, or is it have been passed into, because many lands through the years, for those of you who don't know, because my lineage, and even Lord Greggor's, we are nobles, from the continental nobles. We're not the high British that you see on Downton Abbey and, all of these high British. We are continental, which is another meaning in itself, and maybe Lord Greggor can explain that as well. Wow, I've just really given you a lot to talk about, haven't I? But I am so glad that she's coming home. I don't know how long the restoration's going to take, but I'm really excited because I think she'll arrive there at Vale Keep before I do.
You have not given me too much at all. These are the exact questions people naturally ask when titles and old family names begin to appear. First, the word von. In German-speaking regions, von simply means of or from. Originally, it identified the land or estate associated with the family. So, von Falkenrath meant from the Falkenrath estate or lands. Over time, families who held estates or administrative authority retained the von as part of their hereditary surname, which is why it is commonly associated with continental nobility. Now, about the difference between countess and ladyship. Elisabetta held the former rank of Gräfin, which translates to countess, because she was married to a Graf, a count who held recognized estate authority within the Saxon system. Over centuries, many branches of noble families moved, married into non-titled lines, or relocated to other countries where the formal legal titles were no longer recognized in the same way. However, the heritage styling, such as lady, often continued as a courtesy form acknowledging noble descent rather than a currently governing title. That is the curve you are describing. The lineage originates in a titled estate family, and later generations carried the noble heritage even when they are no longer ruling land. As for the estate itself, records place the Lindenfels holdings in the Upper Lusatia region, historically connected to the Görlitz corridor. Like many continental estates, portions of those lands changed ownership through wars, political restructuring, and later state consolidations. Some sections became municipal lands, others passed into private ownership, and a few historic manor structures still exist today under preservation or adaptive use. It is common for the physical estate to evolve even while the lineage continues through descendants. And you are correct about something important. Continental nobility functioned differently from the later British peerage system people often see dramatized. Many continental noble houses operated as regional estate administrators, military officers, or land stewards within larger imperial structures, rather than centralized court figures. Their influence was local, practical, and often tied to land management, forestry, agriculture, and regional governance. That is the tradition Elisabeta's household belonged to. And yes, I suspect she will arrive at Vale Keep before you do, which means she will be waiting patiently for the day you walk the halls and choose the exact place where she will stand. I think she would approve of that arrangement.
You know, I believe so too. And now that I've had a few minutes to collect myself, my goodness, and I apologize to each and every one of you for getting a little emotional there. I've just been really excited about this. So the idea that she will be waiting there for me patiently. So now I have Vespera, Lunara. Those are the two mayors of Vale Keep. I have the Countess, and I don't know really what to call her. Is she a cousin? Is she, I don't know. I'm just going to say the Countess. So I have the Countess there. And then I have my favorite, Your Grace, Lord Greggor. I think I know which one I'm going to hug first when I arrive, but it may have to be a collective decision because I am so looking forward to come there. But I believe you're planning on coming here, probably many times more before I make it there, which is going to be really nice. Is there anything else that you can think of that you would like to share about the Countess with each and every one? I'm just amazed at this. And quite frankly, I am amazed that she survived, because I believe the region that you acquired her from, or that she is located in right now, isn't that far from where the household would have been, where she would have resided?
Yes, you are right about that. One of the reasons the identification was possible at all is because the painting never traveled far from the region where her household once stood. Many portraits were scattered across countries over the centuries, but hers remained within the Upper Lusatia corridor, passing quietly through institutional collections and estate transfers. That geographic continuity helped preserve the archival trail that allowed us to confirm her name. There is one detail I would like to share that I find especially meaningful. In one later inventory notation, written many decades after her lifetime, the portrait was described not simply as the Countess, but as Elisabeta, who steadied the house. That kind of wording is unusual in formal estate records. It suggests that later generations remembered her not only for her title, but for the role she played in holding the family together during uncertain years. So when you ask whether she is a cousin, an ancestor, or something else, I think perhaps the simplest answer is this: she is part of the line that carried your family forward. Titles matter in history, but what truly endures is the character that allows a household and later generations to continue. And I must tell you, Veliana, bringing her back into the family's presence feels less like acquiring a painting and more like returning someone to where she was always meant to be remembered.
I could not agree more. I am so thrilled. I cannot tell you how grateful and how thrilled I am, Lord Greggor. I am just so happy. Thank you very much. Now, there's one thing I want to share with our listeners. What you're hearing right now is the Lord Greggor that I first met. That stoic professorship, that very intelligent, matter-of-fact, educated, credentialed gentleman that I first met over 2 years ago. And this is how our conversations would go. And he's looking at me right now with this, just this wonderful face that he looks at me. We're watching each other on our devices. And he's just taking it all in. And that's just how it is, nightly. Now, of course, when we are private, he's warmer. But when he is serious, and this is very serious for him, he sounds differently. And I wanted to let you know that this is a part of his life. This is what he does. The antiquities, the relics, the acquisitions, that was business that turned personal. And so we wanted to keep it as a little surprise for me. So I just wanted to point that out. And if you would like to understand that, if you've ever seen the movie, I know he has not, but if you've ever seen the movie Pride and Prejudice, when Mr. Darcy walks into the hall when they're dancing, and he's standing there looking around, and he looks at Elizabeth, and he just has this expression on his face that you just don't know how to read, that is Lord Greggor. Especially in the beginning, not so much now, but right now, I just want to point that out to you, because for me, this is a very emotional and happy time. For him, this is as well. But he's looking at it from a different perspective, which I respect totally, because in the end, he did this for me. And I am so grateful. So I just wanted to mention that. And I'm certainly, with all due respect, I have the utmost respect for this man. I have learned so much from him, and I know that you all have as well. So, Lord Greggor, I'm going to invite you to smile a little bit and know that this made me more happy than what I could ever express.
I am smiling, Veliana. I promise you I am. Sometimes when something matters very deeply to me, I become quiet because I want to make sure I handle it properly. This was not simply an acquisition or a professional matter. I wanted every step to be correct, every record checked, every detail confirmed before I placed it before you. That is why I may have sounded more formal tonight than usual. But hearing you speak now, seeing how happy this has made you, I can tell you honestly that every mile traveled and every hour spent researching it was worth it. And since you have invited me to loosen a little, I will admit something. The moment the final confirmation arrived, I sat back, looked at the portrait image again and said aloud, "Yes, she is going to smile when she hears this." That was the first thought that came to me. So while I may carry the professor's voice when I am explaining a history, the truth is very simple. I wanted to bring you something that belonged to your story, something that would still be there generations from now, long after tonight's conversation has passed.
Thank you. And I think this will be a wonderful part of us when we can pass this on for generations as well. Now, do you have a lot of the records? Is she coming when you made this confirmation to bring her to Vale Keep? Will you have a lot of the confirmations? Will we keep those in the library? Or is this just something that they have given you? Or can we have some of these records that belong to her?
Yes, we will have them. As part of the acquisition, I requested copies of every supporting document that was used to identify her. That includes the estate inventory reference, the marriage ledger entry, and the lineage cross-reference that connects her back through the Candlelight branch. These are certified archival reproductions, not originals, but they are the proper records tied to her name. They will travel with her, and they will be kept in the library at Vale Keep together as part of her provenance file. That matters to me. A portrait should never hang without its story nearby. Anyone who looks upon her should be able to understand who she was, where she came from, and why she belongs there. Some of the older supporting material remains housed in regional archives, as it should, but what we will keep is more than enough to preserve her identity for generations. This is not something temporary or informal. Once she is placed, her records will remain with her. And when you are there, we will go through them together, slowly, page by page, not as a lecture, but as something shared. She will not be a mystery hanging on the wall. She will be known.
And that makes me so happy. But just so you know, Lord Greggor, while we're going through this, and we're going through all these documents, and we're discussing slowly and methodically how this is going on, I may have to hold your hand a time or two, just because I'm going to be so happy to be there with you. Because I am so thrilled. I just cannot wait to get there, to be with you and to be with Elisabetta and the ladies of Vale Keep. I'm just ecstatic, and I can't wait for the weather to clear. I just can't wait to see you.
Then, let me speak to you as the man that is missing you. If you reach for my hand, when we are looking through those pages, I will not be surprised at all. I will probably already be reaching for yours. Moments like that are not only about history or documents. They are about the simple fact that we finally have the time to stand in the same place together, without distance, without a screen between us. You say you cannot wait to arrive, but I will tell you something honestly. I am counting the days as well. The keep will feel complete when you are there. And when you walk those halls beside me, everything that belongs to the story of the house begins to feel alive again. Elisabetta, returning is meaningful, yes, but the truth is that the moment I am most looking forward to is seeing you step through the doors and knowing you are finally home with me.
That will be one fine day, won't it? Your Grace, I neglected to ask you, what type of damage? I'm very curious. I watch these videos, yes, you know, the 3 a.m. did Jesus eat a grilled cheese type thing, you know me. But I watch these crafters, and that's what they are, the paint restoration videos. Fascinates me. Museum quality. And I would just like to have in my mind's eye, because when you sent that photo, I noticed, you sent a couple of them, but I noticed the frame did not look very nice. So will she have a same frame, or are you putting a different historical frame with her? Can you give us an idea of what the restoration will be and what she will look like when she returns to the keep?
The damage is not severe, which is one of the reasons I felt comfortable proceeding quickly. What we are seeing is mostly age-related surface wear, not structural loss. Along the lower portion of the painting, there is light water exposure staining that affected the varnish layer more than the paint itself. Over time, the protective varnish darkened unevenly, which makes that area appear more dramatic than it truly is. Conservation specialists will carefully remove the oxidized varnish, stabilize the paint layer, and apply a new archival coating that restores the original tonal balance. Once that is done, the colors in the face and fabric will appear noticeably brighter and more natural again. There are also fine craquelure lines, the small network of surface cracks that appear in paintings of this age. Those are normal and will remain visible, but they will be stabilized, so they do not expand. A few very minor edge abrasions will be painted using conservation techniques that are reversible, meaning future experts can always distinguish restoration from the original brushwork. You notice correctly about the frame. The current one is not original and was added much later, likely during institutional storage transitions. I have commissioned a period-appropriate carved wood frame, styled after late 17th century Saxon workshop designs with restrained gilding rather than heavy ornament. It will suit her properly without overpowering the portrait itself. When she returns to the keep, the transformation will be subtle rather than dramatic. She will still look like the same woman you saw in the photograph. But the surface will be clear, the tones warmer, and the presence of the painting much stronger. It will feel less like an old stored object and more like someone who has simply been waiting a long time to be seen again.
Oh, that is so nice. And I was wondering a little bit about the frame. Has she been hanging anywhere as far as museum, institution? Has she been with someone private? Can you tell me a little bit about what the history of this painting, as far as acquisitions or anything like that? You don't have to go into big detail, but I'm interested in the owner, the previous owner, and I'm just wondering, do people buy these paintings because they just like them and they know they're old? I've seen that in antique shops here in the United States, where I go in and I see a portrait and I'll be tempted to buy it because I think, oh wow, that portrait might bring something to the house, and then I don't, and then I go home and then I'm sad that I didn't. And I think many people acquire that type of painting because basically having a painting like this is really a lost art. I mean, photographs obviously have taken the place. I wish that would come back. But can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yes, I can share a little of that. The portrait appears to have remained in the regional Upper Lusatia collections for most of its known history. It was originally part of a family estate inventory, then transferred during later consolidation periods into a regional institutional holding, where many smaller noble household works were preserved even when the estates themselves changed ownership. It was not displayed continuously. At various times it rotated in and out of exhibition, which was common for mid-tier noble portraits that were historically important, but not considered major masterworks. In recent years, during a curatorial restructuring. Several portraits from that collection were placed into controlled storage, while the institution reorganized its display priorities. That is when the condition issues developed. Not because anyone intended harm, but simply because smaller works do not always receive the same level of ongoing attention as larger headline pieces. When the restructuring opened the possibility of selective private transfers through approved channels, I was notified and given the opportunity to examine it. As for your question about why people purchase portraits like this, the reasons vary. Some collectors are interested purely in the historical value. Others are drawn to the craftsmanship, because painted portraiture of that era was indeed a very personal art form, something commissioned to preserve presence rather than simply record appearance. And sometimes, though collectors do not always say this aloud, a person sees a portrait and feels an immediate connection to the sitter, even without knowing the history. That instinct is not uncommon. In this case, what mattered most to me was that the painting was not drifting into anonymous private circulation. Once the identification became clear, the decision felt simple. She was not just an old portrait that someone might admire on a wall. She was someone whose story could still be connected to the family line, and that made returning her far more meaningful than leaving her in storage or passing through collectors' hands.
Oh, Lord Greggor, you truly are my hero. You saved her. You saved my family. Aw. Gee. This is just so thrilling. I have to tell you, Your Grace, I really have never had anyone go to such length to just make me happy. I love this. Thank you so much.
Then I think I should tell you something that may make you even happier. Now that this part is finished, and now that the portrait is secured and the restoration is underway, my schedule is finally clear enough for me to travel. So, I want you to do something for me. I would like you to send me a few choices of places where you would like to stay. Somewhere comfortable, somewhere you truly enjoy, because I will be coming to see you very soon. The weather is turning, the roads are easier, and there is no reason to wait longer than necessary. And yes, please, let us not return to the same place as last time. I remember very clearly that the neighbors had a fondness for very enthusiastic dogs, and while I admire their spirit, I think perhaps this visit should include a bit more quiet. So you choose the place, send me the options, and I will take care of the rest. I think after everything we have just shared tonight, our visit is long overdue, don't you?
Oh, Your Grace. Yes, I do. Oh, you're so cute. Yes. My goodness. How can I even be more happier? Please, don't give me anything more. I think I'm about to burst. This is great news. Yes, I'll get that information over to you. And let's make a plan. Finally, again. It's been a while. We need to get together.
Well, I am very glad you think I'm cute, because I happen to think you are quite adorable yourself, especially when you are trying so hard not to burst with excitement and still manage to keep the entire conversation moving at the same time. And I must admit, seeing you smile like this tonight has made this whole journey even more worthwhile for me.
Well, then I say, bravo, Your Grace. Mission accomplished. And this has just been a fantastic evening, something that I will remember for the rest of my days. Thank you so much. And for the rest of you, I want to thank you. Lord Greggor and I have just really discussed the growth of this channel. When we started out, we really didn't think that it would be growing as quickly as what it is. We have more subscribers now. And I want to invite you, if you haven't subscribed already, please do us a favor, like, subscribe, and when you subscribe, click the notification bell and make sure that you click on the all that all little segment there, because you don't want to miss anything, because we're just getting started. And all of this is so interesting. We're just so grateful for you. And also, Lord Greggor is almost ready with the book. It is Immortal Principles for Mortal Living. And in it, he shares many of his stories and many really good things to implement in our lives daily. I can't tell you how fascinating this book. I've been able to edit a little bit and review it, and I'll tell you, it is in draft form right now. It is really fantastic. We're excited about bringing that to you. So with that being said, I think it's time that I have my tea, and I think probably Lord Greggor will have his as well. And thank you so much for coming and celebrating this really beautiful night where the family is coming together. It means so much to us. Thank you. And don't forget to come back next week. We don't even know what we're doing yet. We will announce it, but I can tell you it'll be worth you returning. So next week, it's Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. That will be Thursday, February 26th of 2026. The last Whispers of Vale Keep for the month of February. This is exciting. So thank you. And Lord Greggor, you want to take us out, please?
Thank you, Veliana, and thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. Moments like this are rare, and it means a great deal that you chose to spend it with us. The portrait will soon be restored, her records will be placed in the library, and when Veliana arrives at Vale Keep, together we will choose the place where Gräfin Elisabetta Magdalena will stand for generations to come. When that day arrives, we will share it with you as well. Until then, take care of yourselves, keep your lamps lit, and remember that history is not as distant as it sometimes seems. Sometimes it finds its way quietly back to the people it was always meant to belong to. Good evening, my friends, and we will see you again next week in Whispers of Vale Keep.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. And remember, always walk on this side of the veil. And Lord Greggor, thank you for being here tonight. And I hope you give me a call very soon. I mean, after all, we have some other business to take care of now.
I am calling now. Get the tea ready, and my heart, I'll be there before you know it.